right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Beautiful Tuesday morning. Nice day to get in your car and go for a ride. Gosh, I used to remember those days when you just went for a ride just because you enjoyed driving. I want to do that again. I have a friend who wants to drive to Montana, and I said, "Why do you want to go to Montana?" He said, "It's all wide open." There's nothing wide open between here and there. You got to all the way to Montana. Matt Gibbs is here. We're going to talk about cars, and first I have to ask you, how's Philip? Was Philip not doing well?
No, he's doing okay.
He's doing okay?
He's got some stuff he's dealing with, but he's doing okay.
Okay, good. Well, not to get too personal on it.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
No, but anyway, so yeah, we heard he was in the hospital or something.
No, he just had some doctor's appointments.
Oh, okay. So, there was an article this morning, and I handed it to you, and the headline says the GM has decided that they're now going to glue their cars together as opposed to screws and welds. How is that going to affect you as a mechanic?
Well, from what I read the article, it seems like it's mostly exterior body stuff.
But don't you have to take that stuff off in order to get underneath it?
Yeah, I understand what they're doing. A lot of the seams and stuff when they, the car's built in layers. You have your undercarriage, and then you frame your undercarriage, and then you have the actual body of the car, and then like where the floor pan meets the side pans, that meets the roof, they weld all those, and it looks like they're going to start using
glue.
Well, it's a little bit more. Actually, to be honest with you, the stuff that they were talking about in this is a carbon fiber epoxy that gets real hot and causes the stuff to infuse. It actually gets so hot it infuses itself. And but the carbon fiber that brings the strength. And I actually have, and I use it all the time. It's pretty expensive, but we had super glue that we were able to use for years. Now there's another adhesive out there, and it's 2 parts, and I can fix things. I can build things with this adhesive.
Really?
It's like a carbon fiber powdery substance, and then like a liquid glue added. And when you put the two together, it makes this bond.
Really?
That it when it dries and it gets hard, it's so hard that like I can't hardly even drill through it with a drill.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I can and like little plastic trim pieces or whatever that maybe the fastener fell off of it, I can rebuild that, and then instead of spending $150 for this piece of trim, I can fix them. And there's a lot of things that we use it for. So, but I remember back in I guess it was in the mid '80s when GM came out with the Chevy Astro van and the GMC Safari van. That was the very first vehicle GM built, and nobody touched it. It was all done by robotics. Every piece was cut perfect. There was no shims. There was no body shims. Really? Everything was cut so precisely that when they put this thing together, all the lines were good. They didn't have to shim it. They didn't have to, make adjustments on the body side of it. So that was back in the 80s, and they were so precise that they actually started welding the door hinges on because they didn't have to put a boltable door hinges on and then adjust to make everything line up good. They just welded them on there, put the doors on, and everything was perfect because it was all done by robotics. And so, GM is, they're sometimes it doesn't seem so, but they're smarter than me as far as the engineering and research, and so
So it says they're doing it because of the weight. You think maybe it's more about the feasibility, the ease? It makes it easier or less work?
You want to know what it's all about?
Quicker? Money?
No, it's all about money.
Oh, it is about money.
It's all about money.
So it's cheaper. Glue is cheaper than welding.
Glue is cheaper than welding, and glue is cheaper than certain bolts and screws, and it's just probably cheaper, I'm sure.
They're telling you. So we've got the phone ringing from this one. Let's take some of these calls. Good morning. You're on the air with Matt.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Some years ago, I rented a car in Los Angeles, and I I got into too tight of a parking spot and knocked the driver's side mirror off. So I stopped in an auto parts store and got some JB Weld and Crazy Glue and glued it back on.
That was pretty smart. And nobody at the rental car company ever knew, right?
Nobody knew a thing.
That's funny. I guess it would.
Have a good day.
You too.
Maybe GM heard about that and said, you know what, that's what we should do.
No, they know. Yeah, JB Weld.
And we have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Matt.
Good morning, Matt. This is Sonny calling. You know, as far as glue and stuff, how about the cars, the older cars, where you see the molding falling off or other things? So I guess their glue isn't always 100% what they're cracking it up to be. My next question is, when you do a fuel tank to replace the fuel pump motor, and usually the sender for the gas gauge is incorporated now with the fuel pump.
Yes.
Now, that happened to me. I did fuel pump, and lo and behold, I'm seeing the gas gauge saying I got a half a tank. I added 2 more gallons because it was still not working right, and the gauge went up to almost 3/4. So anyway, I went back, tried to get the new parts put in, and they're saying that the fuel was dirty that was in there. How the heck could that be? Because the tank, if they did their job, if they drop the tank and take out the fuel pump and all that, aren't you supposed to rinse the tank out and get the whatever sludge or something might accumulate in the car? Because now all of a sudden to get a part because it's supposed to be guaranteed, they're saying there was something wrong with the fuel, which I can't buy. But I have my receipts to back up. I'm just wondering how would you replace a fuel pump in the car, and what would you do to the tank? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Typically, number one, if there's sludge or if there's something in the tank, if there's dirt, whatever, if the fuel is dirty, that's not going to affect the fuel gauge. The sender just floats on top of the liquid. It could be full of water, and your gauge is going to still work. Okay, so that doesn't make sense. If there was a drivability issue, if the car was running bad, then I would is the fuel contaminated? And if it is, then we take all the fuel out of that tank and clean it and put it back in. If the fuel pump just decides it's not going to work, or the fuel gauge, the sending unit decides it's not going to work right, or there's actually fuel pressure sensors in them now, there's parts to the evap system that are in them now. If one of the electronics is failing, you replace the electronics. You don't necessarily have to go through the added expense, and there would be an added expense to drain all the fuel. When we drop a tank down to put a fuel pump in there, when we pull the assembly out, we always look down in there with a light. The one thing that I concern myself about is, especially if the fuel pump fails, the fuel pump is an electric motor. So it has, an armature in there. There's metal things that are in there spinning around. So if the fuel pump came apart, is there a bunch of metal in the bottom of the?
Oh, yeah, sounds bad.
And I don't want that going through the motor.
No.
So we'd venture. We would look and see a bunch of shiny stuff down at the bottom and say we need to clean out the tank. Mm-hmm. So every situation in every case is different. You just have to see what is it exactly are we dealing with, and you deal with it according to what's going on with that vehicle at that moment.
We are up against the break. Let's take the break right now. The phone line is open. If you want to call in, the number to call Matt right now is 622-9622. Did I say that right? 622-9622. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. A brief shower or two near the coast this morning, otherwise partly sunny. Inland thunderstorms for the afternoon, high of 90 to 94. The thunderstorms will end this evening, then it clears back out tonight, low 73 to 77. Tomorrow and Thursday, again, it's a shower near the coast in the morning, but it's really going to be inland thunderstorms for the afternoon, partly sunny as well, high 88 to 92 both days. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Need a mailbox rental but need more information? Remember, Personal Service Center, 789-6683. How does $10 a month sound with just a 3-month commitment? Remember, Personal Service Center, 789-6683. Mention WOCA and the setup fee is waived. Personal Service Center will email or text notifications to you when your packages arrive. Even scan mail so you never actually have to pick it up. Now that's service. Personal Service Center, 789-6683. Located on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street, Ocala. Look for the yellow signs.
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
There are only a few things in life that you can be certain will always be around: death, taxes, the pursuit of happiness, and computers. As they continue to advance at an epic pace, the one absolute certainty about them is that they'll break. It's not an if, it's a when. And when it happens, bring it to the only company in Ocala that's certified in Apple and Microsoft, Ocala Mac and PC Repair. They even offer on-site computer repair service, so they come to you. And if you do drop it off, you can check your repair status online. Ocala Mac and PC Repair is a family-owned and operated company that can do everything from mobile repair to wireless networks, fixing viruses, data recovery, even building and installing new systems. Visit online at ocalamacpc.com. In person, 1713 East Silver Springs Boulevard, or give them a call, 352-566-8324. That's 352-566-8324. Ocala Mac and PC Repair.
All right, 18 minutes after 10 o'clock. Yeah, that commercial reminded me of something I wanted to ask you about with computers. Because we were talking about the gas tank and how everything has changed. And I told you off the air, 1970 Nova I used to have. I was in an accident and it just needed a new gas tank. And long story short, I went to a junkyard and replaced it. Right. And I was so proud, but you told me it was no big deal. But now with computers, I wouldn't dare do anything that I don't know. I'm just leery about doing anything. That's why I'm glad we found you. I really am. So we were asking earlier about computers. Does the computer... Well, first of all, there's more than one computer in a car, correct?
Oh, my goodness.
Are they all always on? Does the battery keep them all running all the time, even when you're parked in the driveway?
There are certain parts of the computer that stays active. There's memory that, just like okay, it's the easiest way to describe it is like this. You know how when you, like right now, when you get done working today and you're going home and you start your car up, your clock's going to be at the right time.
It is always at the right time.
Yeah, and all your pre-stations are going to be set on your radio.
Right.
Well, how does a car know to do all that? Well, there's a memory that's in the car. So it as long as there's power going to it, which means it requires power. If you disconnect your battery and then plug it back in, well, your clock is going to be stopped for the amount of time that you had the battery disconnected. Your radio stations are all going to go away. You're going to have to reset all that. So there is voltage being used to keep things alive. And on your car too. I don't know if you ever noticed, but when you shut it off, if you don't open the doors and the radio's on, the radio continues to play.
Yes, I have noticed that.
That's called your RAP system, and that's retained accessory power.
Even if I'm not listening to a rap station?
Even if you're not listening to a rap station, it's still it's called your RAP system.
Really?
And that's continual power going on. So yes, there are certain things in a lot of the computers. There's diagnostic information. There's like the programming side. If you were to get into the programming of the computer that you're sitting behind right now, and there's that programming side of the car computer too. And sometimes we for diagnostic purposes, we have to go into the actual programming side of the computer in the car, then the diagnostic side of the car. So, it's like if your check engine light's on and you run over to AutoZone and they can plug in a little scanner and read you whatever code. Right. There's certain makes and models where the information that I need to fix the car isn't through the scanner per se for diagnostics. I go back. I go in the back door of the computer and I actually look at what the computer is looking at. And if you understand what the computer's saying, then you can pick up some helpful things to help you diagnose certain problems on certain cars.
It's amazing.
So, and that's something that
it sounds good, but when it goes bad, then it's not good.
Well, I mean, if you understand what the car's saying, it speaks a language. Just like hola. That's about as far as I get with Spanish. You know what I'm saying?
Hola.
And
have you ever used that? Hola?
Oh yeah, all the time. Because that's the only thing I can say. And
hola.
Unless I go to Latino Moss for dinner, I have.
Then you know how to.
Well, then I know how to ask for what I want to eat because I get the same thing every time. And so, but understanding a car, it's not just nuts and bolts anymore. It's being able to communicate. That's me. I got an important phone call coming in, but it's real important for technicians to be able to speak the language that the car manufacturers are speaking today.
And that's why I don't ever want to do it myself anymore. Good morning. You're on the air with Matt.
Good morning, Matt. This is Sonny again. I've read some things about some of the newer cars out today. And they program them where the engine doesn't actually operate at max. And you got some people this article that I saw a YouTube video on where they can actually turn around and play with the computer and all of a sudden increase the performance of the car, i.e. maybe even top speed, etc. And it just sort of boggles my mind. I know they're looking to make the engine, I guess, last so many hours and to try to get a little better gas mileage. But on the other hand, I see these programs where you can actually get a chip and plug it in and supposedly increases your gas mileage. But I don't know if that's doing any damage to the engine. Hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you.
Now that's a huge industry today. Huge. It's huge. I have a lot of people that come to me and want to put chips in cars and stuff like that. Here and this is what I tell people. I said, we're going to a diesel truck, okay? For $500, I can take a diesel truck and make it smoke the tires out here in the parking lot. I can give it 300 horsepower. I can give it 200 foot-pounds more torque by simply reprogramming the computer.
Really?
It's crazy. Now, with a gasoline engine, it's different. Gasoline engines are still, even though they're way more technical, they're still the basic foundational principles that are still applied to a gasoline engine. And that is, the more you put in it, the more you got to get out of it. Okay? So I can take that same $500 and give it 25 more horsepower. Because now we're going to have to start, we have to go from one system to another system to another system. And we don't ever have to touch the engine mechanically. This is all just strictly computer stuff. I bought a jet ski and last year, and I have a key. I put the key in my jet ski, and it will make that jet ski run top speed at 5,400 RPMs. Okay, which is about 35 miles an hour. I can take that key and put it away and put another key in.
Really?
Now I can go 6,800 RPMs.
Really?
And go 60 miles an hour.
Why is that? Why do they sell it like that? So
They have two keys. One key is for learning how to use it. If you have a young kid that wants, you know what I'm saying? There's two different sets of keys. There's
That's
a slow
amazing.
key and a fast
Wow.
key.
Wow.
And it's not like when you change keys, somebody jumps in there and does something to the engine.
Right.
It affects the computer. It affects the way
That's
that the
fascinating.
computer operates. So that industry is huge. And yes, and one of the things that Sonny touched on was, number one, nobody wants to. And if I was GM, Ford, Toyota, whoever, I would not want to sell something that's running at 100% of its ability, because people are going to push it to 110%, and then you're going to have a bunch of problems.
Okay.
So you'd want to back them up, and the government's involved in this, like it's involved in every part of our lives, and they're saying we want certain exhaust gases, certain fuel economy, certain this. You got to meet these criteria. Well, the way to do it is detune. And that's what we call it. We call it detuning this stuff, the engine, to meet the requirements that the government has put out.
Okay.
Now, once you own the car, then there's a bunch of stuff aftermarket that changes all that. Now, look at what we had talked about on this show, what Volkswagen did.
Right.
See, that's a perfect example. Volkswagen had the computer it was so technical that it says, well, if only two wheels are turning, the engine's going to run this way. With all four wheels turning, the engine's going to run this way. So, because what they do is they put it on a dyno, they do all their tests, only the two wheels are going, and it meets all the governmental regulations.
That's how they did it.
And that's how they
I never
did it.
understood that. Okay.
Yeah. So there was something that when all four wheels were triggering, it puts the computer in a completely different mode.
Oh, really?
And now you get more performance. You get better.
Those Germans. There's something else,
They're
huh?
sneaky little suckers, ain't they?
And this is really not as big of a topic as anything you've talked about today, but in my car, okay, when I push that red button and the horn beeps and beeps and beeps, right? I hate that, by the way, because I hit it accidentally. But I mean, is it designed so that if somebody's trying to break in, that horn will beep?
Well, that's what it would do if someone set the alarm. The little red button is a panic button. So if you leave here, let's say you're working at the radio station,
right,
and it's midnight, and you're walking out there, and you see some people hanging around your car, you hit that button, and that thing starts beep, 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 and what is the first thing that they're going to do?
So here he comes.
Or they're going to run.
But, I mean, is it designed so that if somebody was to try to break in, and are some cars more sensitive to it? If I tried to break into my own car, would that set off that?
If you had the alarm set. If you set the alarm, then yes, that's what it would do.
You got to show me how to do that.
Just hit the lock button 2 times. You hit it 1 time, it locks your doors, right?
Right.
If you hit it again, you should hear the horn go beep.
Oh, and that's an alarm.
That's now you have just set the alarm.
I do that accidentally sometimes. I do it a lot, actually.
I always push it 2 times, the lock 2 times.
Really? And so if somebody tried with a fork?
Yeah. So if anybody,
a butter knife
if
or
they
something?
broke the window out, reached in and opened the door, it would set the alarm off. The horn would blow like it does when you hit the panic,
Really?
and all your lights would start flashing.
Really? I wonder if anybody would come and help me.
I'll break. Hey, we saw what spark plugs will do. So.
I know. No, don't do that. Good morning. You're on the air with Matt.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I have a final part of that question. So if you put a chip into a truck or whatever it is to make it perform at higher rates of speed, how does that work on the engine? Does it make the engine have less longevity? I'm going to hang up. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, it depends on what you're doing. If you just go get a simple, like a super chip, you can go online, just punch in Google super chips, and that's one of the really good.
Only have 30 seconds. Sorry.
Really good companies. That it won't hurt the longevity of it, and it'll actually make the car even more performance, better fuel economy, and more efficient.
Really good show today. Thank you, Matt. Your number, if we want to call you, is
352-690-1993.
All right, we'll take a little break and be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Carmen Roberts. Washington declares Louisiana